True education often does not teach to the individual, rather it cudgels the young brain into a predetermined mode of conformity. This is conducive to the perpetuation of the system wherein this passive indoctrination exists externally. But is this really education?
The United States public education system has failed me and my fellow students in every possible way.
More than half of you failed. Most of those who passed just got by. Nobody had 100%. I tell you right now that unless you get over your lazy habits and come up to the standards I have set for this class, many of you will have the pleasure of repeating this course next semester.
We have been so subjected to the trammel that we have no free nor natural pace of our own. Our own vigor and liberty are extinct and gone.
However, for over a decade, we learned to sit behind a desk and mindlessly regurgitate useless information.
To know by rote is no knowledge, and signifies no more but only to retain what one has entrusted to our memory.
3.14159265358979323846.
Conformity to the standards of external authority is not true education. So what is it? It is, before all things, useful to perfect this understanding or reason as far as we can, and in this alone, man's highest happiness or blessedness consists. So much of what goes on in the classroom lends power to the school rather than the students. We are the strongest in happiness when we take the reins of thought for ourselves. As optimistic as this may sound, this truth cuts both ways. According to Spinoza, he who is ignorant of himself is ignorant of the foundations of all the virtues and consequently of all the virtues. Therefore, he who is ignorant of himself and consequently of all the virtues does not act from virtue at all. So there exists a need for an education of the individual which is not limited to pedantic academics. We are speaking, of course, of a truly complete education. As Montaigne said, a mere bookish learning is a poor and paltry learning. This great world, which some do yet multiply as several species under one genus, is the mirror wherein we are to behold ourselves, to be able to know ourselves as we ought to do in the true bias. Montaigne urges all students to not only travel to different countries, but to meet the various people we find in our own backyard. Conversation with men is of very great use, and travel into countries. To be able to chiefly give an account of the humors, manners, customs, and laws of those nations where he has been, and that we may whet and sharpen our wits by rubbing them against those of others. The advantages of our study are to become better and more wise. The understanding that sees and hears, this is the understanding that improves everything, that orders everything, that acts, rules, and reigns. What Montaigne wrote of in the 16th century, Spinoza took much further in a rigorous pursuit of metaphysics and epistemology. Though these two thinkers wrote many books, essays, and studies on complex philosophical topics, they saw themselves, foremost, as students of the universe. The highest activity a human being can attain is learning for understanding, because to understand is to be free.